In the headlines, the former SLP hopeful for the Choiseul Saltibus seat, Dr. Alphonsus St. Rose, has finally broken his silence 1 month after being snubbed. St. Lucia is being hailed a leader for its strong fight against COVID-19 in the region, and National Epidemiologist Dr. Michel Fassois and Chief Environmental Officer Parker Ragnanan gives an update to the nation as it pertains to the situation with dengue fever in St. Lucia. All this and more coming up in tonight's broadcast.
This is the Hot 7 Nightly News with Lovelace and Amy Joseph.
It is Monday, the 17th of August, 2020. Welcome to the Hot 7 TV Nightly News Edition on Flow Channel 117, Kiss FM, and our Caribbean Hot FM mobile app. I'm Rochelle Gonzalez. Thank you for joining us. Over 1 month after the explosive reaction to the news that the St. Lucia Labour Party had selected Pauline Antoine to represent Choiseul Saltibus in the next general elections over Dr. Alphonsus St. Rose, the snubbed doctor is opening up in an address to the nation, explaining his words and actions following the announcement. The opposition party's decision to choose Antoine over Dr. St. Rose did not sit well with the many supporters who assumed that the former St. Lucia Medical and Dental Association president was the clear frontrunner. On Monday, Dr. St. Rose went about to set the record straight and to give his views on what happened in the selection process. He said his words are bound to ruffle feathers.
The Choiseul Saltibus constituency impasse must be viewed in its proper context. At the heart of the matter are the majority of the Labour constituents who, having chosen their preferred candidate as a legitimate precursor to the party's candidate selection process, were disrespected. Any imposition by leadership of a candidate arising out of a rigged, manipulated, and contaminated selection process is simply unacceptable. Most of the Labour supporters in the constituency have rejected the party's decision, which they rightly deem an assault on their freedom of choice and expression, an affront on fairness, due process, and justice. The St. Lucia Labour Party must recognize that when its choice of candidate conflicts with the choice of most of their constituency supporters, it is the will of the constituents that should prevail.
The former candidate said he believes the matter needs to be reviewed and rectified as the selection process and the candidate chosen does not place the SLP in a good light.
Leadership's misrepresentation of the legitimate concerns of the constituents is troubling, to say the least. It is for this reason we insisted that the St. Lucia Labour Party handle matters properly and without reticence. We all want to see this current administration out, but it would be wrong to swap it for a replacement that is equally callous and intolerant to the views of the people. We strongly believe that leadership is not the party. They are the servants of the people. That is, for us, the big picture. Do not disrespect us or take us for granted anymore.
Dr. St. Rose said in the past, healthcare was his main focus, but now he has found his calling in politics, and this is where he is setting his eyes on the prize.
My evolution into politics arose out of a necessity of our times. Not only because of my proven ability, my passion, and what I truly believe in, but more profoundly, because of the overwhelming approval, trust, and confidence of the Choiseul Saltibus constituency at large. Thank you, my people, for your well-placed support. The demonstration of unity and strength in numbers is an undeniably powerful message. Therefore, while we must all come together on the most critical issues affecting us as a community, it must never be at the expense of our principles, core values, and our future. I believe in this in much the same way as I believe in speaking truth to power.
Dr. St. Rose applauded the constituents for speaking out against the party's decision and for supporting his move to represent the constituency as an independent candidate come the next general elections. In other news, St. Lucia is now the leader in the region and the world as the island once again boasts 0 active COVID-19 cases. The Ministries of Health and Tourism came together on Monday, August 17th to commemorate this accomplishment.
Minister for Health Mary Isaac is celebrating a recent ranking of St. Lucia as #1 in the Caribbean for its response to COVID-19. The chart released by healthcare consulting company MJS and Associates shows that St. Lucia has the lowest number of COVID-19 cases in the region, with just 1.4 per 10,000 people. The chart shows that Curaçao and Anguilla tied for second with 1.99. On the other end of the spectrum, however, Aruba is listed as having the worst outcome, with 92.43 cases per 10,000 people. Isaac says this is quite the accomplishment and attributed this great success to the continued collaboration of stakeholders to enforce strict health and safety protocols.
We, with our 25 cases, we have the least cases of COVID-19 in the region. This is quite an accomplishment to say that all the measures that we took, which we believe were the necessary measures to ensure that we kept our people safe, these measures have worked in our favor. And right now we have had 0 deaths. Thank God for that. And of course, we give God all the glory.
Isaac notes that this does not mean that St. Lucia is out of the woods just yet. She says given that our borders are open, especially to the United States and the United Kingdom, we must maintain vigilance. Minister for Tourism Dominic Fede, whilst joining the celebratory message, states that this accolade also speaks very well for the future of tourism.
What COVID has shown us is a very profound correlation between tourism and health. And what we've seen during this pandemic is that if our health care is not in order, then it is not possible to ensure that we bolster very important economic industries like tourism.
As of August 17, 2020, there are over 21 million confirmed cases of COVID-19 in 213 countries and territories worldwide, with over 774 fatalities. St. Lucia to date has recorded 25 cases of COVID-19 with no deaths and a 100% recovery rate. Jacques Wooding, Hot 7 News.
On the same subject, Prime Minister Alan Chastanet continues to attribute St. Lucia's success over the COVID-19 pandemic to the island's strict pre-testing protocols. This position was echoed by Tourism Minister Dominic Fede as he reflected on the closure of the borders in the region in response to an influx of COVID-19 cases in some islands.
As St. Lucia continues to triumph over the COVID-19 pandemic, international news carriers are investigating the island's recipe for success. In a recent interview with Cheddar, an American news carrier, Prime Minister Alan Chastanet revealed the secret to St. Lucia's commendably low rates of infection. According to Chastanet, pre-testing is the most effective protocol to ensure a low number of imported COVID-19 cases.
So St. Lucia from very early understood that a significant protocol was pre-tested. To cause persons to travel to St. Lucia or to anywhere in the Caribbean and testing them on arrival would create way too many problems. And what happens if they test positive when they got down here? We can't send them back to the United States of America and they would have to quarantine in St. Lucia. And certainly nobody wants to come on vacation and end up being in a quarantine for 2 weeks. So pre-testing is critical.
In light of recent developments in the region, Tourism Minister Dominic Fede further noted the unquestionable role that pre-testing has played in the successful reopening of the tourism sector.
This is a testament of our insistence that we have a pre-testing regime. You would recall, members of the press, that we were hauled over the coals by many stakeholders, not just in St. Lucia, locally and internationally, for the rigid pre-testing mechanism that we have put in place to ensure that we can sustain the opening of our tourism sector. And today I would like to say that we have been vindicated by ensuring that we stay the course and remain very strict as it pertains to the pre-testing protocol.
Most recently, the pre-testing protocols were updated, whereby if an individual were to arrive on island without a negative COVID-19 test certificate, they will be required to take a mandatory test at the airport, carrying a fee of $100. Jacques Wooding, Hot 7 News.
National epidemiologist Dr. Michelle Fassoir and Chief Environmental Health Officer Parker Raghunanan on Monday updated the nation on the situation with dengue fever in St. Lucia. Dr. Fassoir explained that whilst dengue fever is endemic to the island, members of the public still need to be aware and report their symptoms when they present themselves. Raghunanan explained that people need to be more vigilant as well as take responsibility for their surroundings to prevent the breeding and subsequent spreading of the vectors that carry the virus.
Some health organization, PAHO, and other experts have pointed to climate change as one of the leading causes for the surge in the number of dengue fever cases, with poor environmental management and increased adaptability of mosquitoes listed as other causes. On Monday, during a virtual press conference, National Epidemiologist Dr. Michelle Fassoir and Chief Environmental Officer Parker Raghunanan both made impassioned pleas to the public to keep their surroundings clean in a bid to reduce the breeding of vectors. Dr. Fassoir explained that there have been a high number of cases of dengue fever in St. Lucia among children.
We have noted that the age group in which we see it are mainly children, the 5 to 15-year age group. And we continue to monitor it because obviously children, especially if you have younger children who cannot communicate to you what is happening with them, it may be the diagnosis may be a little more difficult based on the presentation.
Raghunanan explained what interventions would be taken by the government, as well as what initiatives members of the public can undertake in order to safeguard themselves and their families from the virus.
We go from house to house, and when we see breeding in water containers, we would put a larvicide to kill the wrigglers in there. We would speak to the householders and educate them and tell them they need to cover the water containers. There are times that you would see the black smoke at nights, and some people complain that they can't stay in their homes, they have asthma, they have other respiratory conditions, and yet we're getting a large cry throughout the whole island. We want to see the fogging operations. What exactly does fogging do? Fogging is one of the treatment measures that are implemented to kill the adult mosquito. We continue to work with the schools and the other organizations, churches, community groups, in doing sensitization and education. For this year, we've had a number of what we call cleanup campaigns, where we've gone into communities like New Village and Pave, to name a few, where we've worked with these communities and we've seen a number of items removed and disposed of properly.
He explained that majority of the initiatives undertaken by the government are costly and time-consuming. As such, people need to ensure that they do not keep water storages uncovered or keep stagnant water in or around their homes. The environmental officer suggested that people conduct inspections for mosquito breeding grounds in and around their homes on a weekly basis. He also stated that the efforts to eradicate those vectors are supposed to be done on an individual and community level.
We've spoken about doing the regular inspections of your premises, but I want you to know that also you need to pay specific attention to protecting your own self. Mosquito nets have proven to be very effective, and we continue to encourage people to use mosquito nets and to use it properly. It means that you must tuck in the ends of the net under the mattress, because if the mosquito gets any space to come in, they'll still come in and bite you. And that's what you do not want. You need to wear long sleeve shirts and socks, and tuck your pants within the socks to protect yourself. And remember, again, we're talking about specific times of the day at home. It's early morning, it's the dawn, and early evening, the dusk. These are the peak times that these mosquitoes come out. There are also times that these mosquitoes will be around all day, especially in dark places. So you need to pay attention even to your working areas, the desk at which you work, and ensure that mosquitoes are not biting you all day. It may very well be one of these Aedes aegypti mosquito. So protecting yourself, there are good insect repellents as well that can be used. You can apply repellents not just on your skin, but on your clothing and your nets as well.
Ragnanan stated that in the coming days, the government will be releasing public service announcements in order to sensitize the public on how to conduct proper inspections, as well as what to look for when inspecting homes. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Gonzague.
You're watching the Hot 7 Nightly News. Still to come, Health Minister Mary Isaac is none too pleased with the fallback into the party attitude and atmosphere. The people have their say on whether they should or should not party hard, and a black nationalist is celebrated.